What is up, everybody, and welcome to another Webinar Wednesday. So super excited to be with you again today. We're going to be talking a little bit about lead generation. Before we get into that, though, Ronnie, how is it going, my man? All right, we might be having a little bit of technical difficulties, but that is okay. So we're going to be talking a little bit about lead generation today. I got my boy Ronnie with me. I don't know if he's frozen or what, or maybe it's on my end. Sometimes you don't know with this stuff. But we're going to get into a little bit of just talking, like I said, about lead generation, what we're going to be dealing with today. I kind of want to split it into two different categories. So we got one category that kind of deals with like low cost, no cost stuff, just on the for lead generation. So ones that, really don't cost much or just cost a little bit or don't cost anything at all. And then we'll kind of handle another category, which is a little bit more. So stuff that costs some money. We have, things that you can put down a little bit of money for, a lot of money for, those types of things. So when you're dealing with lead generation, it's kind of all over the place and stuff like that. So Ronnie, I think you have you now. So, all right, man.
I disappeared, but I'm back.
I feel like I did that last week too, like 5 minutes before getting ready to go. We got it back. But no, man, how's it going?
Hey, everything is going good. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a wonderful day to talk about deals and, marketing and making everything you can do to make that phone ring to get these deals done.
Yeah. So, as we're getting into this lead generation thing, I think, we'll go over a bunch of stuff, but what I've really learned about lead generation is I think everybody's always waiting for that. Hey, what's this secret sauce? What's this secret list? What's that? Give me that one. Give me that thing that nobody else is doing. And honestly, I don't think it's out there. Like, I just don't like, I'll think I have like a really good idea of like, oh man, let's do this. And like, then I'll hear, oh yeah, we did that like 2 years ago. And here's what happened. And so, but also along with that is that everything is just kind of, it's cyclical. So where I feel like we're kind of in a period right now where, direct mail might not be hitting as much, but it's going to come back. Like I'm not going to stop doing it because we're going to hit a period where it's going to happen again and stuff. So it's really tough. I think when people maybe get discouraged and like, oh man, I haven't got, this isn't working out really well for me. I'm ready to drop it and stuff. Make sure you have data that supports kind of what you're doing. Are you, did you do it for a month and it's not working? Like, are you really ready to cut it back then? Or was it working for 2 quarters? Then like, okay, this makes sense of, okay, I have 2 quarters of this. It's not really doing, I'm not getting my return on the investment. It was during like peak seasons, like, okay, I am ready to cut this or, things like that. So, and we'll kind of get in a little bit of all that while we're talking about all this stuff today, but kind of coming back to that secret sauce, secret list and things like that. It all comes down to, it's going to come down to, Ronnie and I say this all the time. It always comes into the follow-up. So yes, you can have good lists and yes, you can have, you can have longer lists or, specific lists and things like that, but it's always going to come down to how are you following up those leads? What are you going to do with them? So we can do this lead generation stuff, getting your phone ringing and getting the right list and stuff. But when it really comes down to how you connect with them, how you talk, how you speak with them, but then also how you follow up with them. So Ronnie, just on that, like, what do you say to that? And just, I know you and I preach that all the time is the deal is in the fall. We're actually even going through that with our team right now of where we have James, who's been on the team for like, 8-9 months now. We have, Nigel, who's just starting off and like just kind of getting through Nigel's head of like, man, the deal's in the follow up. You got to follow up all the time. But then even with James of like, he laid off of it. He was getting some deals. He was doing really well. And he kind of laid off his follow-ups. Now he's behind. And he's like, oh man, I'm missing deals because this person's getting it. I should have been on top of this. So
no. I mean, the deal is definitely in the follow-up. I mean, and like to Brian's point, it literally is all about marketing. When you think about a sales funnel, it's just what are you doing when you have all these different people in your funnel and just getting them through the system, So no matter if you catch them with direct mail, a bandit sign, TV commercial, handwritten letter, a little doorknob hanger, through word of mouth, or something that you left at a restaurant. It doesn't matter, I mean, because different things are going to work. Different strokes work for different folks. But it really is really about, what you do in managing all of those leads and touching those things and things like that. So that's what really matters. I'm telling you, I'm sitting in my email right now and I had 5 deals come through in the last 2 weeks and I'm just like, oh, wait, I think I've seen that before. It's in the system. Yeah. So that means that the marketing strategy worked, but, in order to get it home, you got to have follow-ups.
Yeah. So, and then one more thing before we get into this, kind of like one last little tip I have too, is make sure you can handle, Ronnie's talking about the management, stuff like that. So I think a big part of that is make sure you can handle what's going to be coming through what's going to be coming on your phone, what's going to be coming through your email, what's going to be coming through your text, whatever it is. Make sure you can handle the amount of leads that you can have. If you drop 25,000 mailers, tomorrow, that seems awesome. Your phone's going to ring, but are you able to handle that? Do you have the team in place to do that? So maybe you need to space them out. Maybe you need to do them different days, things like that. So those are things to always consider and stuff. So Ronnie, let's get into a little bit of just kind of let's start with some like low cost, no cost things. I have some notes here that I kind of took, and I'm just going to kind of read through a couple of them first, and then maybe we can kind of talk about, hey, we've done this is how this has worked and things like that. So we're talking about some like no money or low money type of things. I'm thinking of things like, bandit signs, just really hitting up social media as hard as you can, driving for dollars, driving for dollars with one of our favorite apps, the Deal Machine app with the team there, visiting, networking, community events, things like that. Yard sales is actually kind of a really good one as well. And then RIAs, meetups, things like that, leaving handouts, leaving, door hangers, that type of thing, inserts or postcards, anything like that. Just knocking on doors during COVID season. It's a little tricky with that one, but that's still something that is pretty handy and it works pretty well. And then just researching county records. So pulling your own list, reaching through the county records that way, cold calling, asking for referrals, searching contact for the sale by owner listings that are on, Zillow, Redfin, any of that you see. You've also even just driving around. And then just you can write and leave the handwritten letters for any time that you do have that list or that property or whatever it may be. So those are just a quick list that I just jotted down here earlier today of some low cost, no cost stuff. So Ronnie, when you hear kind of some things on that list, what are some things that maybe like pique your interest of like, hey, we've tried this has worked out pretty well, or hey, I know this is working for somebody like in another market, or anything like that. What do you think when you hear that?
So just what I've been noticing, just even driving around our city, I've been seeing a lot of bandit signs, some pretty creative, and actually been talking with some other investors in our city and a couple of markets. They've been using bandit signs, and as but what they've been doing, very creative stuff. Usually, some of the bandit signs are pretty wordy, but now what I'm noticing, people are just using emojis. So it's an emoji of a handful of money, emoji of a number 4, emoji of a cash. So it's cash, 4, house, and then it's his phone number. So and that has been getting very simple, but that's been getting a lot of traction. And they're very concentrated about areas where they're putting their bandit signs. So you might have 20 bandit signs within a mile radius because they're just heavily marketing that area because they're very serious about that. So bandit signs are definitely a good traditional low cost way to go. You can be as creative as you want to be, using emojis or just a phone number or whatever you want to use. Definitely use those. And one of the things that I love, and again, I'm going to say this, Deal Machine, and if you use our promo code SIMPLE, you can get some free credits, 30 free credits there. But driving for dollars is a tried and true way. I take my kids out all the time, and even my wife now, because she takes the kids out for their nap time because they only sleep in the car. She'll take them out and she's, hey, babe, I've seen some houses for sale by owners and things like that. So I can add her to my Deal Machine team. And if she sees something that makes sense while she's out taking the kids, take a picture, send it, they'll get a mailer, or, I can get the phone number and call them. And then also too, it allows for it to be very niche. So where if you know an area pretty well, get in there, walk around, walk the neighborhood, talk to neighbors. When you see those telltale signs, overgrown bushes and trees and, things, it's distressed property, make that phone call. It's very low, or even, knock. I know it's COVID, but, just kind of knock and see what's going on and leave a mailer.
Yeah. And I think it's, just kind of going along with a lot of that stuff. I think that's something that I think we miss out on. Those are the deals that we miss out on a lot of, like the ones that are people like just actually out walking and, walking on the streets, knocking on doors and things like that, because I feel like a lot of times that we get so into our head of like, oh, we want the next piece of technology. We want the new thing to go out there and stuff like that. And then we lose sight of some of those easy things like bandit signs, like being out there and actually walking around the neighborhoods, knocking on doors, and actually doing the handwritten letters. Everybody, I think when I check our mail, we get so many letters from other wholesalers and stuff like that. I love looking through, but I haven't seen an actual handwritten one in a long time, because all I've seen are, the pre-made or the ones that are the ballpoint print that, computers do and things like that. So, actually doing that personalization, having the time for that, especially if you're starting off, because that's when you can kind of get that niche list on your own by driving for dollars and figuring out, finding those houses. You can drive around for an hour and find 10 houses pretty easily that, are, the overgrown weeds. There's the mail coming out of the mailbox. There's, the shutters are kind of, falling off or whatever it may be. So just creating that list and then just writing them a letter, sending them mail, something simple and going about it that way. So that's some really good things too. And I think, just the whole networking piece of talking to people about what you're doing and what's going on and stuff like that. I think people lose sight of that from time to time. Just because even if you are new, just by going to networking events and listening to, oh, this person's selling a property, or you hear little things like that, going to community events of, if there's an HOA meeting or something like that, your buddy's going to, like, go there if it's a neighborhood that you think, might work out, or if there's a parade going on or a community event, go out there and hang out with some people. I know this is all stuff that is always up in the air with COVID and everything, and you can physically distance as you do this and stuff, but just keeping your ear to the grindstone, keeping your ear to the ground of like what is going on. So one of my favorite stories is a wholesaler, it's been a couple of years ago now, but she brought us like 3 deals in 1 year just because she would go out to all the different yard sales in different areas. And she would just give us a call and be like, hey, I know this, I got this contact information of this lady that down the street on this, on 601 Gray Street or whatever it was, something like that. And they're selling their house because, the neighbor told me about the yard sale. Like, awesome. We ended up buying, we could send her $500 and she did it 3 different times in 1 year. And I was like, what a great resource that I never would have thought of. Right. Just hanging out at yard sales and stuff. It's not really my scene, but if I can get deals, maybe it needs to be my scene, I guess.
Most definitely. Gary Vee does it all the time, looking for treasure. You might, maybe find a house or two.
Yeah. So, and then also, obviously one of the low cost things too is cold calling. So the cost that you really have in that is time. Or if you have somebody doing it for you, you can do that. You can have a virtual assistant do that for you, and it's usually pretty low cost. But Ronnie, when it comes to cold calling, what are some tips that you have for somebody that's just going out there, and because it can be kind of a painful thing where you're making so many calls and you're not getting any hits, or you're getting hung up all the time, you're getting cussed out, those things. What are some tips you have for somebody that's cold calling?
Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride. Cold calling, it is, again, one of those tried, true, traditional ways, because, just being able to get in front, the more people you're able to get in front of, to give your presentation and to connect with, the higher your chances are and probability of being able to convert that conversation into a walkthrough and into a lead, because they're connecting with the person. And that's really the biggest thing is that, when you're out there, making those phone calls and, you've made 20 phone calls and you got a couple of expletives and how'd you get my number and things like that. What you're really trying to remember is that you're just looking to connect with one person. That's it. And understanding and be objective about it. Like, hey, if you just got to finish having a rough call, understand that that's not my match. And that's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. You're just looking for one person that, fits the criteria of what it is that you need. And you can just stay objective in that, stay sober in your emotions, as you're kind of going through things. Remember just to kind of calm down, and just have a script is really, really big. Having a script, because sometimes what happens, and I'm guilty of this, is that you'll kind of follow, oh, I'm a nice person, people like me, but sometimes people ask different questions that will throw you completely off. And so if you just have a script, if there's 4 different bits of information that you're maybe looking to get, and how you get there, kind of switch it up a little bit, but having a script on a cold call is going to be simple but also priceless and really valuable, to you, and being able to help convert that seller into a purchase agreement.
Yeah. And then in practicing that list, and, I think that's really important. And then another thing too, of just like, with that, as you're calling those, don't try to sit down and bust out, 4 hours worth of calls in a row. Make sure you're giving yourself some breaks. Make sure you got to get your mind right after a certain amount of time. So take some breaks and have a different phone call, or just put your phone away for a little while. So I think that's really important. I know one of the most popular questions when we talk about things like, cold calling or even get into sending mailers here in a little bit, when we talk about that, like everybody always wants to know, like, hey, where do you get your lists, and stuff. So there's a multiple different sources that you can go out there to find some lists. Many of them have varying prices, things like that. You can create your own list by driving for dollars and things. And then how do you get the numbers for that? You skip trace them. So you can find a skip tracing company. There are ones that you can do batch skip tracing. There's ones that you can do just single skip tracing, things like that. I know Deal Machine just, they just up or put in a batch, skip trace thing of where you can do a long list at a time. But there's different lists out there from everything. You can hire data scientists to do it. But I think some of the most popular lists of kind of that are list sources that are people going out there is List Source. There's List A to Z. There's PropStream. Those are ones that I think are common right now that they're affordable, where people are pulling lists from. You can do different types of lists. You can pull, absentee owners. You can pull, you go through the county records of people that are behind on their taxes and, things like that. That's what you're looking for. Like, hey, I'm going to put, get this list of maybe it's, 200 people, maybe it's 1,000 people and start from there and go there. I mean, just know what your budget is, set that budget and kind of stick to it of like, hey, okay, I can spend this amount of money and I'll be good for, 2 months off of this list or whatever it may be. So I think it's some of the things that are important, some of the things that you need to think about. I think a lot of times as people get into, lead generation, things like that, I think people need to make sure they do set a budget. I think that's a big part of what people are doing because it's really easy to get off of that budget and kind of know what you're and kind of figuring out, hey, how much money do I have? How much money can I spend? How much money do I have available? So I think that's really important. So something to consider with that as well. So Ronnie, any more things on just low cost, no cost stuff? On the door hangers, I'd say anything like that, door hangers, postcards, Post-its, anything like that. Just make it personal. Put your personality in there. So if people people are going to relate to you, and not everybody's going to relate to you, but you want the people that are attracted to like kind of what you're putting out there and what your personality is and stuff. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say is marketing yourself. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, marketing yourself with the brand. I mean, there's some of our friends, they always wear purple. So like, people know, hey, these are the purple people, they bring out different services. But marketing yourself on your Facebook, on social media, people know that, hey, Ronnie buy houses or Sylvia buy houses, or, Brian buys houses, whatever it is, just that you're continuing putting that information before people, letting people know exactly what it is that you do, and what service you can provide, because you just never know, what type of referral that you might get. Again, I tell this story all the time. I got a phone call from a guy who said that he was in a Sprint store and bumped into somebody that said they needed to sell their house. And he said, I knew to call you. He said, I don't know how to do the purchase agreement. I haven't done that. This isn't my field, but I knew to call you. But from him knowing to call me, we were able to walk him through that entire process. And just from, again, networking made him, over $10,000 being able to do that. But he knew that I marketed myself well enough that he knew, hey, I know Ronnie knows how to do this. So, and that's really important. And there's a lot of different stories like that. So continue to brand yourself, whether it's, on a personal note and also too on your professional social media as well.
Yeah. So no, good stuff, man. Really good tip there. So let's kind of get into maybe some of the ones that cost a little bit of money and stuff. And this is, like I said, this is varying. This is where that budget comes in of, hey, how much money do I want to spend here? And I have this much here and whatever it may be. But so these are things that maybe you can do that cost a little bit of money. We've done, multiple ones of these and we'll kind of talk about our experience with them. But so you can do real estate auctions, you can do direct mail campaigns, buying your list and doing different marketing things that way. You can hire a third party to do all of your marketing lead gen for you. You have a website, really hit up the SEO on the websites, the search engine optimization. You can do pay-per-click ads, PPC, sponsored web posts, television and radio ads. You can sponsor different podcasts to get your name out there a little bit more. Facebook ads, Ringless voicemail, texting. You can just straight up buy your leads. That's something you can do as well. You can hire a team, with, multiple VAs doing multiple things, having boots on the ground, going out there driving for dollars, have your deal machine team, whatever that may be. Partner with other wholesalers is another thing. And also you can do like, billboards, bus benches, other signage, things like that. So there's a wide variety of things you can do, and a wide variety of money you can spend on different things. So I think, Ronnie, when we talk about a couple of these, some of the most popular ones that people are always asking questions about, definitely like direct mail is one that people always ask about. So I think, and it's worked for us for, we've been doing this for really 4 years at a high level of direct mail campaigns, and we're still continuing to do them. We will continue to do them because it is a viable lead generation source for us. We get multiple really good deals from them. We have a higher percentage. Kind of one of the numbers that I really look to do is basically for every dollar that I put in, I want to make sure that I'm getting at least $3 out of it. So that's what I'm looking at when I'm budgeting and when I'm spending money. It's always great when it gets up to $4 or $5 for that dollar, but I always want to make sure that I'm at least getting $3 out of it. That's what I'm looking to do. We've always been able to do that with direct mail. So a couple tricks, a couple keys to doing direct mail. I think one of the biggest things is that you can't really just do like 1 or 2 mailings. You really need to do, if you're going to do direct mail, you got to make sure that you budget for like 6 mailings, however long you want to space that out, however long you want to do it. But really a lot of times it's that 5th or 6th or 10th time, whatever it may be, that people are reaching out from you. You're going to get calls off of every single mailer, but a lot of times, you want to be able to do it for multiple times so people can see your name over and over again. And it seems that you seem like a legitimate business. People are getting more familiar with you, and it's that day of what happens. That maybe that first 2 times they threw your postcard away when you sent it out, or your letter when you sent it out. But then on that 4th time, it was that day. They had it. They got that extra notice from the bank. They got that other phone call from a debt collector, whatever it may be. Their toilet is overflowing. They can't fix it. Whatever the tenant is, whatever. It's when you catch them on that day and they get your mailer again, that's when they're going to call you. And that's why you kind of want to do those multiple ones and stuff like here and there. So if you're just like, I just have enough money for like maybe 1 mailer, I would probably consider something else. I would say, hey, where can I put my money in somewhere else, something else? Can I buy a list and skip trace it instead, or something like that, and be able to do that, and then whatever it may be. So Ronnie, what's one of your favorite ones when you see like a lead come in from a certain source? You're like, man, I'm getting excited about this one. I'm ready for this lead here because it's coming from this source.
Most definitely. I get excited about two of them. Usually people that respond to mailers, they seem to be a little bit older, baby boomers, and they seem to kind of take their time. There's a certain demographic that responds to mailers. So I kind of get excited about those because, usually in my head, if I see a mailer coming through, I'm like, wait, this is probably Granny. So want to have a nice conversation, and it's going to be nice and smooth. I can take my time. But then also too, if I see, a PPC internet lead, I get excited about those too. Because that means that somebody's ready to make a decision because they're clicking, they're active, chances are they probably clicked around on your page a little bit. So they have maybe done their homework on you. So then that also makes it a little bit easier to kind of have that conversation. So you're doing less selling of yourself on the front end because they already know what they've seen and know what's going on. So they're kind of informed what the process is. You can kind of just jump right in there and kind of get to the meat and potatoes of what's going on because they know what's going on too. So those are 2 leads that I really kind of get excited about because I know, hey, this is something that can turn, pretty quick and pretty fast.
Yeah. So, and you brought up a really good point of, hey, I get excited when I see a postcard or, a mailer number come through because, it might be Granny or whoever. It's something you need to consider of like, who is your demographic? What is your avatar of who you want to buy a house from? Like I love buying houses from that, that older couple that are downsizing because all their kids are moved away, or the ones that just maybe they can't renovate their house. They just don't have the time for it, the resources for it, or the energy for it. Those are my favorite types of leads because number one, they're just super sweet. That you're helping them, and that stuff is great. But that's one of our main avatars. That's one of our biggest buyer or biggest ones that we're buying properties from or getting under contract from. So, and knowing that, what do? They go through their mail every day. They look at their mail. So that's one of the things that we can kind of continue doing that. So Facebook ads are great. And that's a great thing. A ton of people are on Facebook, but usually Granny and, grandma and grandpa, a lot of times aren't on Facebook or as much as they're looking through their mail and stuff. So that's something to consider and something we always look at of what is your demographic? What are you looking at? But we got a ton of leads from, Facebook ads as well. That's something to just consider of knowing kind of where that lead is coming from.
Yeah, it's big because especially like with talking with some other people in the other markets, a lot of the Facebook people, they're tire kickers. They're just trying to really, hey, I'm sorry, what's going on? And so you kind of have to have that going on, and then so it's a lot of trying to vet, hey, is this a match or not? So like I said, I get excited about the PPC league because they've done the homework, or the mailers because they have took their time to open up the mail and read everything.
So, I was just having this conversation yesterday on, I just met with a couple young wholesalers here in Indianapolis, looking to get started and kind of they've been doing it for a little while, kind of doing their thing. They've got some leads and some deals. But they're like, what's that thing that's going to take us like to the next level and stuff like that? And one of the questions I had for them is like, do you have a web page or a landing page or even just a Facebook page that people can go to?
Yep.
So for example, one of my favorite leads that I see when I see a number coming across, so we basically, we tag a number to every single one of our lead generation sources that we do. So we know exactly where it's coming from. So for example, we have a TV commercial. We know, hey, this number comes through. That means it was sent out during this commercial aired during this hour of the day. We know where it's coming from. So we can track basically everything that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my favorite numbers that I see come through is a website lead. So somebody that goes to our website, puts in our web form, either calls us that way or sends us, it basically sends us the web form that says, hey, this is a lead from the website. Those are my favorite types of ones because usually those people know who we are. We don't necessarily have to have that conversation of like, hey, we're Simple Quarters, Simple Wholesaling. This is what we do. This is how we do it, because they've usually done their homework. So it's already kind of like, hey, they're reaching out to us. They've done their research on us. They at least know our name and kind of who we're, the people behind the company. So you're already like 1 foot in the door. So that's one of my favorite ones too. But that's what I was kind of telling them of, just to make it a little bit more legitimate, so people can just know a little bit who you are. Even if you've done 1 or 2 deals, having a site of just explaining kind of what happened, how you did, how you helped somebody, what can you help them with, I think goes a long way. Makes it a little bit more legitimate, makes you look more like a company, someone that's done it before. You have some experience and you can help them out.
Yeah.
Versus just like,
Definitely.
I'm just Brian. I just want to buy your house.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. In this information age, people love to go and nitpick and find out what they can find. I talked with a seller today who backed out of our walkthrough, but he said, "I know who you are. I've also checked your Better Business Bureau ratings." So that means that he said things that had changed with him, but at least he's able to do his homework and know. In this information age, people really want to do their homework. So having a landing page, just a separate place where someone, can feel like they're going and investigating you and doing their homework on you and getting the opportunity to be more familiar with you. Even if it's just a simple landing page, for my old school Black Planet people, you just got just a one page or Black Planet page or even a Facebook link or, something like that where people can go and do their own homework and do their own due diligence to kind of build that trust goes a very long way and make those initial conversations a lot easier.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's great. I just want to, we're running out a little bit of time. So I just want to talk about maybe just one other thing or 2 other things. So I know a lot of people are kind of the hot thing to do is texting and ringless voicemail. Those are kind of 2 of the hot ones that are out right now. We don't do ringless voicemail. We really haven't done that. It's like, I get annoyed when I get those, so I just can't make myself do it. I know a lot of people are doing that, and there's some great leads out there. So I think that's definitely a viable source. I can't speak too much to that because when I get that, it bugs me. So I just can't make myself do that. But I know another one is texting, where it is, the text that comes through and stuff like that. I think it's very cost effective for the amount of leads that we're getting and the amount of deals we can get in front of. You want to make sure that you're working with a company that is compliant on things, that if something happens, they'll kind of go to bat, as a company of like, hey, this is how we're doing it. This is how we're presenting it. So be careful there. But I think those are 2 really good sources that a lot of people are doing, that a lot of leads are being generated out of. So
yeah, texting is very good because number one, you're able to connect directly with that seller. Whether you're getting the FU text or, hey, help me, you're able to go ahead and get direct answers. And then also too, you can, if you're a good texter, because you slide in other people's DMs, just change the conversation, and you just change the context. Being able to talk through text, get that response, and still be able to build that rapport directly is really, really good. And, just recently, we've kind of changed, who is doing some of our texting, and we're already seeing great results because, we just have the right people being able to figure out, hey, this texting thing and have that good conversation via text message. Maybe you aren't good on the phone. That's fine. But, you can, have a conversation with your thumbs and be able to, use different emojis and stuff like that to connect with people. Do that. It's cost effective. Less stress on you. Just use your thumbs. It's great.
Also, I want to, you mentioned something there that kind of triggered something in my mind of how important it is. So when you have a lead generation coming in, when you have people calling you, texting you, whatever it may be, how important a no is or yes is versus that, I don't know, or maybe. So it's okay to get those things that like, F off or, stop calling me, any of those things are good because you know what, you can get them off your list. You can cross them off, say, oh, okay, I'm not going to waste my time on these, things like that. If somebody says no, don't cross those off. That's not that's still a lead. It might be a lead down the road or something like that. But there's ones that are like an absolute, like, no, I am not selling, or I don't live here or whatever it may be. Those ones that are definite, like affirmative, get them off your list because then you don't have to worry about them again. Is just as important as sometimes having that yes, because when you have those ones that suck up your time and those they say maybe over and over again, those are the tough ones. Those are the ones that you want to, just give me an answer. That's all you want to know. So, yeah. So Ronnie, all right, man, that was great. As we wrap up here, just any last words of wisdom when it comes to, lead generation and what people could be doing or anything like that?
Just enjoy the ride. Figure out what's working for you. And Brian made a great point, budget. So work within your budget, whatever your scope of your budget is, work within that. So you're not stressed, about it. So just work within your budget. Budgets matter.
So awesome. Thanks a lot for joining us. Let us know if you have any questions or we can help you out in any way. And with that, we'll see you next time on Webinar Wednesday. Take care, guys.